Hey, travelers, it's Sparks Valentine here with
Erica Nerdy Yogi.
and
And Foxfires.
and welcome to Dice and Dish, the tabletop RPG roundtable discussion podcast, where the three of us are going along on travels, talking about three different topics every episode, and meet some interesting adventures along the way that we bring into our silly discussions. So we really hope that you enjoy the episode and that you continue along the travel with us. So I guess we'll see you along the road. Okay, Erica, roll the dice.
If only they knew. Okay.
Oh my god.
Sparks, it's your turn.
Oh fuck. Okay. So I decided to do my topic over stats for your different systems. Do you prefer rolling for your stats, or do you prefer doing point buy? And I mean, standard array is like woohoo, like it's there, but like that's not part of this because you don't get to pick and you can pick and choose where they go, but you don't get to choose your numbers. So I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. I enjoy rolling for stats if it's going to be a character that I'm going to have for a while. If it's going to be for like a character that's for like a one shot or anything, I'll usually just do the standard array and then up the numbers with, racial. And then whenever you hit your like fourth level milestone, you get your like, your ability score improvement or your feat or whatever. But I just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts. Do you like hearing the rolly rolls of the d6s as you roll them, or do you want to have a point pool and pay for stats?
I think it really just depends for me. I don't really ever like the point buy. It's just too much math. It's just to me, like, I know that sounds kind of weird, but I would rather just let the dice roll and do the math that way. Because then I start getting all like in my head about the point buy for fifth edition. So I just like the roll, 46s down the line, and just let it be. So I do like the down the line versus putting them where I want them. I think that's just something that I personally like to do. I don't think it's a very popular thing to do in fifth edition. I think most people want to put their stats where they want it. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to be a bard, so my 18 has to be in charisma because I have to have the best stat for my character because it has to be the most optimal build for my character ever. I can't be bad at anything. And I think that's just something that I get it. I get the appeal to it, but sometimes I'm like, we're flawed. Why aren't our characters flawed? Why don't you have a barbarian that sucks? Like, somebody has to suck somewhere out there at what they're trying to do. Why can't you play that person? And so this is something I've thought about. Like, I think it'd be really cool to do is have a fifth edition game where it's like you have to put your worst stat in the thing your character's supposed to be the best at and force people to play characters that suck, mechanically suck.
The
And
sucks
just
game.
see, yeah, like you're the fuck nuts. Like the adventuring group that is the worst at everything. Like you got Reginald being your tank, who's got a 9 AC, and everything else.
I definitely don't plan to run this game for you guys now.
um, I don't know. I mean, for me, I just think sometimes like optimal builds, it gets old after a while for me because it's like everybody's just awesome all the time. Um, and maybe that's just like a jaded point of view. I don't really know at this point. I do like the 3d6 down the line. I think it does challenge people to utilize role play and to become smarter players versus like the answers on my character sheet. No, maybe the answer is just within you. Like, and do it that way. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's because the last couple of years, I've been exploring more old school styles of play. And I kind of, they're speaking to me more than more 5e styles of play. So maybe that's just where I am. What about you, Fox?
I agree with you. I vastly prefer rolling for stats as opposed to either point buy or standard array. But that being said, now, like Sparks, if I'm in a one shot and I'm only going to use this character once, I might just be lazy, as I'm going to say be lazy. It's really not lazy, but, and use standard array just because it's there. I just got to put it where I need the stats because the rest doesn't matter. I did point buy for our Strahd game, and it made me nervous because I was like, I need this so much here, or I'm gonna die, and I need this so much here, or or this is gonna be bad, but I need this stat. I don't know where to put the negative. I was like, I do not know where to put the negatives.
Let me tell you, I like pulled, I think, a point buy up like one time, and I went and I was like, oh my gosh. I think with if you do Adventures League, don't you have to do point buy? Is that not how it used to be?
I don't know. I've only done
I'm
Adventures
not
League a
sure
couple
about
of
Adventures
times.
League.
I think
I
it
know
is.
that
I think you
nowadays
have
they
to
use
do.
D&D Beyond, so I don't know how they do it nowadays.
I
Oh.
don't know why. I thought Adventures League was standard array, but don't go by me because I
It
really
could
don't know.
I was
either be
thinking that
that
too.
or I don't know. I always thought it was point buy because it was you had a certain
No.
amount of points that you could distribute amongst the stats.
No, I think it used to be standard array, so that it forced everybody's character to be on the same, almost on the same level, I guess you'd say. But I don't know how they do Adventures League anymore because it's been a long time. But yeah.
But yeah, back to the conversation. I do prefer rolling, and not just because I don't really like point buy or standard array as stat distribution, but also because with rolling, you have a little more variety in what your characters are going to have. So with standard array, you always have those numbers. They do not change. With point buy, you're always going to have the same general amount. With rolling, you could have a character that has all 6 negatives, and you can have a character that has no negatives. You can have a character that has no negatives or no positives, and anything in between. And, to some people that might sound like a detriment to the way of doing it. And me as a DM, when I run for people, I do tell them you get 1 mulligan. But you have to re-roll everything. And you have to take the second roll if you do it. I've played a character with 3 negatives before in different stats. That was for a one shot. That was one of the most memorable characters I've ever played. Just because I played her as a child because I was like, she's got 3 negatives. It's going to be fun to play a kid. Everything she tried to do, she failed at it, and it was hilarious. To your point, Erica, being bad at stuff can be fun. Yeah, you might feel bad because like, well, I can never do anything that these other big people are doing, but you're also your party is going to rally around you most of the time, and because they see that you're trying and you're failing and you're creating memorable moments.
I
don't know,
have
I just
found the
sorry, go ahead.
answer. I found the answer to
okay.
my thing. In Adventures League, it is either standard array or point buy. You cannot roll for
Okay.
your stats. So I think it just depends on the Adventures League game that you're going to play in, whether or not you're point buy or standard array.
Gotcha. It might just matter on the DM's role.
I think that's
actually
it.
had an idea of what I think would be a fun way is like have like a cup, right? You have one cup, right? You have what, 6, right? That's the normal. It's 6, right? I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Of your abilities, you have one cup. And each cup has a range of numbers in it, and you sit at the table all together, and there's a little piece of paper in there, and you draw, and you all draw from the one cup, and that's your strength because that's normally where it starts in 5th edition at the top. I'm pretty sure on character sheets. And then you pass around the second cup, and whatever you get, you get. If you get an 8, you get an 8. If you get an 18, you get an 18.
I kind of like that idea. I kind of want to do that game at some point.
I don't know. It was something I was like thinking about character creation and different ways that you could possibly like force people to play to make characters in a different way, whether it's like dice or I've seen people do it. Like we played that Knave game by Ben from Questing Beast, and his was you rolled for your modifiers, and your modifiers was that right?
So you rolled what?
Your modifiers couldn't add up to be more than 9. Was that what it was?
So you rolled your dice and you rolled, I think, a d6,
Mm-hmm.
and each number correlated to a skill on your page. So however many of that number that you rolled was your modifier.
But the modifiers couldn't be higher than 9, all added up together.
Well, I mean, I don't think that was part of it. I just think it was you rolled this many dice and whatever number you got, however many times that number appeared was your modifier.
Yeah, that's what it was. So it was a different way of doing it. Instead of you even like, I have a 14, it's like you're rolling for your modifiers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It was really interesting.
Yeah, it was a cool game. I liked it. I also like the way that they do damage and inventory and stuff. Well, maybe we'll play Knave whenever my book gets here.
I'd be down because I had to
funny.
miss that game, so I'd be down to play Knave.
Yeah.
When it finally arrives.
Don't hate. It'll be here. It's shipping, customs, all that stuff.
And it was at
Some
Gary
things
Con.
are
What
worth
the hell's
waiting
going
for.
on
It
right
was.
now?
I should have just bought it at Gary Con, so I had 2 copies.
Well, does anybody else have anything to say on stats? On roll by and point by and rolling? No? All right, roll the dice again, Erica.
That's a 2, so we're gonna do that again because that's Sparks. So it is Fox. You will go next.
All right. So my topic is spellcasting systems. Which ones do you prefer? So I think most people are going to know about the traditional system from 5e, which is your spell slots. You get so many spell slots based on your class, your level, and I believe your casting modifier. Spell slots are fine, but there are other ways to do spells. I know some systems use like essentially a mana pool. I can't. Was it Dagger Hearts that use that? I know we talked about it a while back.
I don't
and I
know.
can't remember.
Hang on.
Can't remember the exact system, but I know some use like a mana pool essentially. I know some systems just say each specific spell you have so many casts a day. And even in 5e, like the creatures, some of them will just say for a specific spell 1 to 3 times a day, as opposed to you have X amount of spell slots to allocate however you want. So what systems do you guys like?
There's things I like about there's things I do and I don't like about spells and different systems. Like I do like how magic is wild in DCC, but I don't like how much sometimes it can be a little bit of a time sink to roll on all the tables if you're trying to do a game that's only like 2 hours. Luckily, my DCC group meets for 5 hours, so it doesn't matter how much time we spend in the book. But I can see if you're playing a DCC game and you're not playing a funnel, you're actually playing a leveled character that would actually have spells. It could be a little bit of it eats up your game time if you only can meet like 2 hours and you have a wizard. I do like the manifestation. I like the fumble chart. I like how clerics, if they fail to cast, their god gets mad at them and disapproves of them, and their natural failure, natural failure range increases from like a 1 to a 2, and so on and so on. I also think that the way that they can do lay on hands if you're, this is something I'm talking about during my topic. If your alignment does not align with the people in your party and the alignment of your god, it affects how much you can heal them, because your god does not like the fact that you are healing them. I do like spell slots. I play Dragonbane, and I think you're talking about like a mana pool fox. In that game you have willpower, and in order to use your abilities that cost so many points. So like that might be the mana pool you're kind of thinking of. It just popped in my head when you brought that up. Dagger Hearts I've never played, so I don't know. I don't know. I like the casting, like the roll to cast, like they have in Shadow Dark, and they also have Misfire tables. And I do feel like Shadow Dark's spells are more simplistic. That is something that I like. I like how in Castles and Crusades, if you open up where they have the list of like wizard or cleric spells, they have a little sentence that just tells you what the spell does, how much damage it does. It makes it a little simpler. I don't know if it's because I'm old and I can't remember anything nowadays, but the simpler the system is, the more appealing it is to me. And I think that's why 5e is not as much appealing anymore, because I feel like when I run it, if we run like tier 2 and I run for 4 hours, I'm exhausted. And I don't feel that drain on more simplistic systems. What do you think, Sparks?
I oh god. So if it's, I think it just depends. If you want, so talking about different casting systems and the way that other systems do casting of spells, I think the one that I truly really enjoy is I love Call of Cthulhu's casting system for spells that they have in there, because you get a certain amount of magic points that you can gain across like a campaign. You don't really see it a lot in one shots, because a lot of the times you're not going to find like arcane tomes that are going to have spells in it. But in that, with the casting for it, is, you get these magic points, and I want to say, because I haven't read it all in like a hot minute, but you can gain them across the campaign when you find a book that could contain a spell or whatever. When you cast that spell, it affects your mind because it's a natural thing in the world. Like magic doesn't exist according to your character. Like, it's kind of like it's kind of like in Candela Obscura. Magic isn't real, but in there, your characters know it's real. Like, other people don't believe it. So you're kind of like the other people. But like, once you cast a spell, you have to make a roll, and depending on how the roll goes, depends on if you lose sanity and you can go insane from it. But I kind of like their way of doing it is magic is not always present to you, but when you find it, if you want to use it, then it can drastically affect your character in a way, even if you do succeed to cast it or not.
I like that idea.
That is one like like systems, like casting magic kind of thing that I really do enjoy. Talking about, like how your mana pool you were talking about, Dagger Hearts does technically have it. It's been almost a year since I've played it, but from what I can remember is you would take stress levels depending on the spell that you casted.
I heard you talk about that. Yeah.
You would take stress levels, and like you had ways you could bring your stress down and everything like that. Because I was like, oh, I have my character sheet still here from Gen Con last year. So but yeah, having spell slots I think is fine. Like, it gives you like a good like representation of this is how many times I can cast a spell of this level or whatever. But like, once you get kind of further into it, spell slots become a lot more tedious, because then you have to plan things out. I mean, I'm doing that now, and we're only 7th level in our Drakkenheim campaign. I'm like, I have this many spell slots of this level. Like, I don't want to use my big daddy spell slots just in case. And then it's like, sometimes I need to use them to get the fuck out and get some other people out of like dangerous situation. And it's like, okay, well, I use that, and then it's like that's the spell slot that's down. So it kind
Well,
of having spell slots, you learn how to manage a lot more than like how like a fighter or a barbarian would. Action economy is real big if you're a spellcaster.
so speaking on
Um,
action economy like that, I thought about it while we were talking. In one of the games I played, the DM actually gave the option. This was a 5e game of casting a higher level spell by utilizing more lower level spell slots. So let's say you were trying to cast a 5th level, you could cast a 3rd and a 2nd level, or you could use both of those slots to make that 5th level and cast it.
I would say that that could only work is if you had access to that level of spell slots. I
Well, no,
don't think
that's
if
that's
you okay.
that's an example. Let's
Yeah,
say
I was like,
you
if you don't
can.
have access to like a 5th level spell slot, then I don't feel like you should be able to put two spell slots together and get a 5th level spell slot and be like, haha. Like, no, that don't work like that.
No, no,
But
no. I
like,
meant you have access to the spell. You just, let's
yeah.
say you ran out of spell slots, but you really need to cast this spell.
So so basically you use the number of spells, you use like a spell slot that would add up to 5. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
It's an
I don't know how to feel about
interesting.
that.
I know. I'm like, it's kind of.
I'd have to play it.
Well, it kind of
It was
reminds me
kind of a, so it
of
came
arcane
out.
recovery for wizards because when they take a short rest, they can do arcane recovery and gain up to 6th level spell slot. Like you can either get 1/6 level or you can do um
So
a
in
5th
a,
level.
a little context, in that game, it was a weird situation where the players were trying to push themselves because of a very stressful situation. And essentially, an entire town had been destroyed, and we were rebuilding, we were trying to revive people, and we were still dealing with enemies at the same time. And so, essentially, I asked the DM if I could do that because I was trying to bring back as many people as I could. I had the diamonds, I just didn't have the spell slots. I had only like
Gotcha.
2 5th levels.
Okay.
And so the DM allowed that. And I wanted to see what you guys thought about something like that.
I don't
I don't
run
know. I've
on.
never played like that. I would have
Yeah.
to play it to see. I'd have to sit at a table and experience it. It's one of those things that like
I
I
feel
don't. My
like
knee jerk
honest.
reaction is I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't either. But
But
I
it could be
also,
wrong. I don't
I mean,
know.
I feel like that's going to be more useful for somebody that is like a cleric
Mm.
than some that's like a wizard or like a
Well, because like to
sorcerer.
me, I'm just thinking like a sorcerer, right? If they do that and then they twin it,
Well, so there is limitations though on twinning spells. Is they have to be a single target
they have to.
spell,
Yeah, exactly.
and
But
there's not a
still,
lot of single target normal 5th level spells.
Well,
yeah,
it's, I mean, not even just 5th level, though. It's kind of like
it's
Erica
any
was saying.
level
But I believe with twinning it, don't you have to use,
Sorcery points.
sorcery
yeah, don't you have
points.
to use sorcery points up to the level of the spell?
I think so.
Yeah, you would have to. I think
Maybe.
that's how it works.
Yeah, and you
Honestly,
I
only have so
I
many.
I haven't played a sorcerer in about oof,
Yeah, but
I
you
don't
only have
remember.
so many sorcery points. So if it's
Yeah,
example, if it's a 5th level spell, then you have to
yeah.
use 5 sorcery points to twin it. You're not going to be able to do that very many times.
No, you wouldn't know. But I mean, you would. It's just I don't know. I would have to sit down and play it.
Yeah, I know. I
Honestly,
think it's
like
one of those like I have to like test that out because it's
yeah.
like how with Erica the like knee jerk reaction is I don't like that. That's not.
I mean, I'm all about
I've had
like
some
the
interesting homebrew
system.
things.
Yeah,
I'm interested to try it out. I'm just like the first like reaction to that is like I don't I don't like that.
Okay, so I'll throw another one at you guys. And for our viewers, another homebrew thing of a different campaign. Um, this was like a short bull mess campaign. I was playing a character who was a pacifist, which I don't think I'll ever do again. I hated playing a pacifist so much. Number 2 was primarily a healer, and number 3 did not care about her own life because of her own upbringing. So she was always pushing herself to try and do more than what she could handle. going without sleep, not eating, everything of that nature. So, when it came time to needing big save our butt spells, I was always asking the DM, like, so you gave me the option to research this stuff when we're at this wizard's tower. My character would look into these big revival and healing spells. Can I try to cast them even though I'm only level 3? And he said, you know what? I'll give you the option. You'll roll a D100. If you roll below this, it happens. But if you roll this threshold, it'll happen, but you'll die.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah, and there was a
I don't
threshold
like
where
it.
it wouldn't go off, but I would go unconscious or get exhaustion and things like that. So negative
I would
effects would
allow it.
happen, or it would just fail.
I'd allow that. Yeah. I mean, I would allow that. I feel like if it's something that you're like, you are in this one place, it's this one time, it's understood between the DM and the player that you are doing something that is beyond your understanding, is beyond your own control. It could result in death, and you are still willing to take the risk as a character and as a player. I'd allow it for
So
sure.
it was just
I had
one
a-
time. Is he just
That's what I'm
this
saying.
No,
one
it was
time?
it was for the rest of the campaign that if I
Oh.
tried to cast that spell,
No,
it was a roll.
no, I don't like it for
Nope.
no. I like it in the moment.
In the
like
moment,
that,
yes.
Like in the moment, I think I'd be okay with it. But like no, the rest of the campaign, no, because then there's no. Why would you need to level up? Like, why would you need to look
so-
forward to leveling up to get those spells? Like, I get like your character didn't care about life and didn't
It
want to
also
live, but
feels
it's also it's
lopsided.
like it is.
So, but the
It
thing
feels
is,
lopsided
there
to the
was
rest of the players
Yeah.
at the
oh
table.
no, every player had the
Okay.
option to try that if
Okay.
they
Were
wanted.
they all
Yeah, every player had
spellcasters?
the option. Well, if they weren't spellcasters, not so much. But they
But, like,
all
that's
had
the
the
thing.
option if they had access to any type of casting. They all had
Yeah,
the
and
option.
most of the days you're playing 5th edition games, let's be honest, what class doesn't have the option to cast anymore?
Yeah.
I mean, depending on the
But-
subclass that you pick. I mean,
Yeah. But
Exactly.
every
Fighter,
Most of them have the option.
barbarian,
yeah, but every
Barbarians have the
character-
option to cast.
wild magic. But that's why I said subclass.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I even implemented a similar thing in my campaign where I had the barbarian who was like, sure, I want to learn magic. And rolled high enough that an NPC was like, fine, I'll teach you magic. What do you want to learn? I was like,
Then
I
you
want-
get into multi-class.
I
then.
want to learn that. I want to learn that time stop thing you did that one time. Okay. I let her roll for it, and I implemented the same thing that the other DM did for me. You
Yeah.
roll within a certain threshold, it happens, but you die. And to this day, she still plays with death, even though she was literally 1 point away from dying once. And that was a barbarian. No multi-class, no nothing like that. I just let it happen because they spent time with a character who had the knowledge and could teach them, but they didn't understand it, so they had a very high risk of failure and a very high risk of death. So, I just wanted you guys' opinion on it. It felt like a good topic to bring it up. with
One
different
time,
Yeah.
I
spellcasting
think
systems and things.
I think once, like in like a high pressure situation, I think it'd been fun, but I just don't think like the entirety of a campaign.
No, I kind of like it because I do like the idea of the high risk or high reward, and I like as long as like everybody else at the table has the option, I'm okay
Mhm.
with it. Because to me, that's the one thing. Like, if I was a player and it's like, well, this one person has this one really awesome, cool thing that they can do, but none of the rest of us have something like that, then it doesn't feel fair. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But like, if everybody has the option to do it, then yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that at all.
Oh yeah. No, like I said, in both scenarios, every player has that option.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if you want to go and try and learn a 10th level spell that you have no business trying to mess with, that's up to you.
Oh yeah. I had one of my DCC campaigns, there was a mithril set of armor, and the mithril set of armor that there was enough for every person at the table. And mithril it doesn't affect elves because elves can't touch iron and all this, stuff in DCC. And Actually will like I think it takes away 1 HP every day that you're wearing it. But anyways, like the mithril doesn't affect elves, and I made it to where it would shrink to any size, so it didn't matter if you're a dwarf or a halfling or whatever. There was enough armor for everybody, and it gives you a really awesome AC bonus, and does have a minus, I think it's a -6 to your agility checks, which isn't bad because I've had armor that's a -8. Um, but the thing is like because it was so magical and it was so good, I was like, this armor is so good that when you are within towns, cities, fill in blank, people will see it and they will want it. You will be a target, and none of them would take it but one person. And I told him, I said, as long as you understand that people will literally slit your throat for how good this armor is, it doesn't impede your movement speed, nothing. And he's like, yeah, I'll take that for sure. And I'm like, okay, cool. And it was one of those things like I had people come for him all the time. And he loved it. He was like, bring it on. But it was one
Yeah.
of those things that it was like,
That's when
and
you
then
become
it
the
started.
cloaked figure that walks through town.
No, but I mean, it's just one of those like even with that, like, certain places like he'd have to, he would put it away or whatever. There was rumors of like, that people knew what he looked like and all this kind of stuff that had this set of armor that was made fashioned by dwarves. There was the dwarves wanted it because it was a part of their history. It was part of their culture, and this elf shouldn't be wearing it. It was an abomination to them. They wanted to rip his head off for it. Stuff like that. I feel like if you're going to give a player something that is really awesome, there has to come at a cost.
I can agree with that.
Sparks, is there anything else you want to say about the topic?
Nope. I was gonna say we got
Okay.
really far away from that topic. So
No,
I feel
I mean
like it
we
was
still
far
kind of.
away. I feel like you're right there. Spellcasting
Well,
systems, same
I'm
thing.
talking about gear.
Different homebrew ways to do it.
Different
we're not more
gear.
interested in it.
Oh,
Well,
I mean, gear is still magical.
It was an example of like
Consequences.
why
A
I
DM's
would be
bargain.
okay with something like that. Like why
So
I
it's
would
the-
be okay with somebody
it's-
doing that.
It's the
kind of
DM's
thing.
bargain.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, so my topic is regret after game. So I'll kind of tell my little tale and then I'll let y'all talk about it. This came up because I played at our local game store. They had a con, and I went down there and I was playing DCC with some the DM I've played with before, and the 3 dudes I was playing with, I'm not familiar with them. They were nice guys. I felt like we had a good time and a blast. Honestly, playing it. It was a TPK, but it was a 4th level DCC game. And when we all sat down, like one guy, he started making a character, and I knew that Rusty already had pre-made characters, so I was like, I'm just gonna be lazy and not do that. And so he just started passing them out, and I just asked like, "What is everybody playing?" Because I got the sheet last, and there was a dwarf, there was a warrior, and there was a wizard, and I was like, "Cool, we either need a cleric or a thief." And so I was like, "Do y'all care?" And they said no, and I was like, "Well, we definitely need a cleric at least." So, because you got a 10-foot pole, so just use that as the thief as much as you can. And so I chose a cleric, but I didn't think about it. I just hastily saw cleric, grabbed the sheet, plopped it down in front of me, and we started playing. And then I looked at the character sheet and it said cleric, alignment, chaotic. And I said, shit. I can't heal them without it bringing disapproval to my god. I can only heal them for like 1 hit die because they're all lawful. And there was a lawful cleric in that stack, and I didn't grab it because I didn't, we were all talking and cutting up, and I just, didn't think about it. And then the whole game, I was losing spells to heal them. I was barely healing them. My disapproval got to like 5. I mean, it
Ooh.
was bad. I I lost the ability to lay hands on people. I think we had like 4 rooms left, maybe. We TPK'd in the about 2 rooms left in the dungeon. And I was
Ooh.
like, man, I felt so bad. I was like, I should have paid attention. I should have been more mindful of what I was grabbing and what the party composition was. But I didn't. I was just, just grabbed and we rolled dice and went. And I know it's not my fault. Like, it's not my fault their characters died or whatever. Like, it just happens. But one dude's character died 15 minutes into the game, and I was like, oh my God.
Oof.
It was a 4-hour game. And so it's just something that, like, when the following like day or two, I was thinking about it a lot. I was like, God, I was kicking myself. Why didn't you look at the alignment? Why didn't you ask about alignment? And I just didn't think about it until it was too late. So I was just wondering if y'all have ever stepped away from the table and kicked yourself for a day or two because of that. And moving forward, maybe you won't make the same mistake again.
Where do I start?
Wherever
Where
you
do
want
I
to, darling.
start? Okay, well, let's start way back in the beginning. The table. I should not have gotten on the table. That was not a safe space to be.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant you
I
were
deserve.
physically
No, no, no,
on the
no.
table. Okay.
No.
Actually, yeah,
I was like,
Fox was
actually,
on the
that's not
table.
this podcast.
Was
I was like, that's
on
your other
the
podcast,
table
actually.
The fact that
and
you were there for this and you're making jokes.
Oh, it was that game, yeah.
It was that game, yes. Curse of Strahd, my second game that I ever played of D&D. I was playing a Tabaxi Rogue. We were what, level 1 or 2?
We were in Death House.
We were in the Death House.
Yeah.
We didn't have the clerics with us. And I was like last or really low in the turn order. Everybody else had already backed away. And I'm like, well, I'm going to get up on the table thinking, the height would give me an advantage. 'Cause, new player. Yeah, no, I got they critted me and just insta death in one hit. So yeah, the table was regret. Just full on regret there. I was really sad because I just got the mini for that character and everything, and I got to play her all of 1.5 sessions. So that was major regret. Let's see here. The time I pissed off a werewolf when I was level 2 and almost got the entire party killed. That wasn't a fun day. That was not a fun day. Time I pissed off a god and he threatened to kill my whole family. That wasn't a good day either. The time I decided to go with a devil because he told me he knew how to get this item I wanted. That wasn't a good day. That was regret. That caused some deaths. So many other bad decisions. So many other bad decisions.
Do you have more?
I was about to say, yeah, one more. Sparks' character. I regret not casting light over in that area. So I could have seen.
Oh, well, yeah, it's okay.
I warned you.
You
I
did,
like,
and I do not regret building that character at all, because here's the thing: if the character would have made it and where we are at now, oh, that character would have been a beast.
If she'd made it.
If she'd made it. But we're not talking about that because I don't regret that. I will say I do not regret a lot of decisions that I make, because I'm like, it makes sense for the character as to why those decisions are made. Will I talk about them? Yes, I will. Like our Dragonheim campaign, everybody knows this by now. How I play spellcasters is I will always have AoE spells that could possibly hurt the party. It is a known fact of when Sparks plays any spellcaster that this is a possibility. So I try not to. I've gotten a lot better about it and tried to position things to where it will not hit the party. or if I'm playing a sorcerer, I will take the safe spell that like automatically you pick so many people and saves, like they automatically save the
Careful.
careful spell.
Careful.
Yeah. But I there have been, I feel like one that I might regret is whenever we were in Erica's campaign and we were on in the Feywild, and I decided that I was going to be the one to basically sacrifice my character so that way a new player wouldn't lose their first ever character that they made. Like I would have, I don't regret doing it, but I regret that I never got to kind of play her more and continue her going on. But honestly, it was a great like role playing thing, and it was great. The after effects were really great for like some of the characters and how like they felt. Some of them forgot who the fuck she was, so and didn't remember her until they got back to the real world, or the material plane. Like there's like sometimes like I'll think about like, oh, well, I should have cast this spell instead of that, and it's like, well, I could have spell managed better and had more of this or whatever. But I mean, I don't like to live on the regrets of those in my actual life. Yes, I'll live on the regrets of the things that I've made and I'll sit on that. But when it's something that's like this, I'm like, I had fun. Everybody had fun. And I don't feel like there's anything to be regretful about. I was having a good time playing a game and everybody else looked like they were having a good time. If they weren't, then oh well. It seems like a them problem. But I don't know. I just feel like I don't want to regret something in a game that's not real. And I don't want it to eat me up. Like what happened with you, Erica, your DC game, that was a mistake. Like it wasn't like it was just a careless mistake anybody could have made.
Well, I mean, like nobody.
And you were the one that made it.
I mean, it's just none of us thought about it. Like we
Yeah.
all just grabbed character sheets and
you just
moved
went
on. I mean,
like a normal
it's not
person.
something. It's not something that like ate me up. It wasn't like keeping me up at night.
I mean, it sounded like it. I thought about it over the next couple days,
I did.
I was just like,
I did
oh,
for
God.
the next like day or two, because it was like I just felt like it was such a one of those like like I guess like just rookie mistake kind of a thing.
Yeah, one of those easily avoidable things.
Yeah,
it's one
but
of those,
everybody does it. Everybody has it. Like I think one thing that I do regret is making my new character for Dragon High, making their main adversary is the person that our group wants to work with the most.
I don't think you knew that it was gonna be that way though.
Well, here's the thing. We had kind of already started working with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like there was already the kind of that little rapport that we had with them, and then it was like, oh, and then it got more and more, and I was like, fuck. But hey,
but
that's what happens.
But that also kind of makes it interesting, though.
It does, because I send my little familiar in there. It's like watching, always watching. No, but it's also, I mean, I've regretted playing some like classes. Like I regretted playing a full melee build whenever everybody else was ranged, because by the time that I would get up to them, it would already be done. And it's like, okay, guys, I'm here. Cool. And my entire class was built on people being around the enemy when I was playing a rogue, so I could get sneak attack, and nobody got close. So it was like, cool, that's cool. Regretted that character build.
Feel that?
Other than that, like, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I don't think I've ever regretted any of my characters besides that one. I think that's the first time I've ever experienced like regret. I think it's something that like I had a different topic and I erased the topic that I had and for this week, and I put it there because that was the first time in 10 years I've ever experienced table regret.
Regret.
You live, you learn.
Yeah.
And you learn.
But
Read your character
let
sheets
us
more.
but let us know what some of you guys' regrets are in the comment section.
Yeah. Do
Yeah,
you
tell us all your
purposely-
regrets.
Make
Yes,
us feel
only
better
about-
about our own mistakes.
Yes. Do you ever choose to play a chaotic cleric in DCC when your whole party is lawful? and
Yes.
and everything that you can turn are angels and unicorns.
Oh my gosh.
Couldn't even. I know I couldn't even turn unholy because my unholy was that's what they are. I mean, I couldn't demons, devils, undead, shit like that. No, you can't do that. It's
Yeah.
unicorns,
Good Lord.
angels.
All
like
right.
that.
Well, I think that's it
Yeah.
for these topics. Leave your regrets in the comments. Make sure to follow and like and subscribe on your podcast network. Make sure that you check out the last episode of every month is going to be I don't know, what do we want to call it? Dice and Dish
We
one
play a game.
shots. Make sure that you look out for those, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Hey travelers, Sparks here. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Dice and Dish. We really hope that you enjoyed it. And if you are on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so that way we know that you guys are enjoying it. Also, just, if you ever want to leave any comments to give us some ideas for some topics, we 100% will not steal them. Totally not. And then if you're on Apple Music or Spotify, make sure that you subscribe so that way you know whenever a new episode has dropped. Yeah, our next episode is going to be on June 21st, and it's going to be part 2 of our dice shots with the second part of the 5e one shot that our lovely Foxfire was running. So yeah, make sure to check that out if you haven't watched part 1, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.